There's no place like home.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Well, hi there and welcome to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, I'm Eric Stromer.
And growing up, I always would rearrange my room. Did you ever do that? You'd move your bed
I did that
around?
every couple of months.
Yeah.
It seemed like I think it was instilled in my family because we rented an apartment when I was growing up, and my
Right.
dad didn't have extra dough to buy a house, so instead I think we changed the paint configuration and wallpaper and all sorts of stuff. And I think it was just sort of my dad's way of constantly changing design and getting a new feeling and introducing a new way of being in that house, right? It was really kind of a cool, I think they were the original DIYers.
It's
actually.
terrific.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't quite yet, because, I mean, we're talking like elementary school.
Yeah.
Like not yet painting, because that wasn't in my brain set at that moment, but I was instead thinking about design and moving my bed around. Like I thought, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to move it in the corner. So instead of having it like right beneath the window, I'm going to move it in a corner.
You may have invented feng shui.
I don't know, but I kind of went with this whole thing because it felt like I was in a cave,
Sure.
because you're up against the corner. Of course, I had my Donny Osmond poster
Well,
above me.
who didn't?
I mean, that was right. So
I had a Farrah.
Farrah Fawcett
I had a
poster.
Farrah one.
But to this day, I love moving things around, and thought we could talk about the cheapest way to change the look of your place. Forget about even buying paint or buying anything, just
Sure.
moving what you have around.
Yeah, and I think it makes a huge difference. We occasionally do it. My wife does it often in our living room, where we'll just spend maybe 3-4 hours on a Sunday just changing stuff around, because I think it introduces you to a fresh, new feeling and the way traffic moves through a room.
Right.
And that in itself just gives you more of
It's
a feeling that it's a cleanse. Right. Exactly.
It totally is. Like when you go to the grocery store now, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this. Have you noticed? I mean, it's kind of like they want you to buy new things that you haven't.
Sure,
in
the
that,
end
in that
caps,
aisle.
the evil end caps.
They change the aisle around. You're used to going down this aisle to find the chicken and that aisle to find
Right.
the produce or the cereals or whatever. And now it's like they've flipped it around. You're like, whoa.
Well, even worse than that, they have changed some of the stores where the aisles are at an angle. So you have to walk by more things that will tempt you than you used to. So again, it's almost like a rat in a maze.
Totally
you feel
is.
manipulated by
Yes.
it, right?
Or like when you go to the mall and now they have these little vendors that are right in the middle of the mall.
Or my pet peeve of all time, going to an amusement park and the gift shop is at the end of the ride.
Sure.
So you have to walk through with your
Right.
kid who goes, "Oh, I want the whale, that stuffed whale." And then you end up spending $3 million, or your kid cries.
Or like on our honeymoon, we went to Honolulu, and before you can get to the next thing, you have to go to the gift shop.
That's it.
And it was like,
I
and it was the
know.
cousin, it was like the
Yeah.
bus driver's cousin that owns the
I
gift
know.
shop. Anyway, we're kind of on a tangent, but
But that's what happens.
But it's all about changing your attitude, changing your vision, and moving things around, because
Sure.
it's going to improve how you feel.
And I think that the space is sometimes not correct, and you'll find through trial and error that you may find the right way that you egress in and out of the home or through the living room by changing where the coffee table is, for example, and it ends up being better sometimes.
And you might exactly have come up with an idea that you didn't normally consider, like on paper, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about some of the different things that just take a matter of minutes, right, to rearrange and just kind of rethink. So, for instance, moving a chair and a table and a few accessories from one room to another, I mean, that's a good start. I mean, when you look at your living room, do you just take everything out first? Or just gradually move one thing at a time?
No, usually we don't, because there's a couple of big items, and we'll just sort of move the couch to a different side and then move everything else in the center of the room, and then just sort of throw it in different places from that point, right? And so, and even things that are on an angle can make a huge difference.
Right.
Because I think we all have this idea that everything has to be up against the perimeter wall of a room, and you can't pull stuff forward or have it at an angle, and sometimes it really does work. So yeah, that's how we do it. We start with a couch usually.
And I like to start with all of the tchotchkes, because I like to take I almost get like a basket or a couple different trays or whatever to clear them all out of, let's say we're starting with the family or living room,
Sure.
right?
That's a good
because
idea.
that's going to just kind of give you a clear slate. And then now all you're looking at, so you grab all those things, let's say you have a couple of pots with plants in them, and maybe you have, some candles and, I don't know, little figurines, whatever you have, some books. You grab all those things and put it on the dining room table or in another room so you don't see it, and now all you're looking at is just the vacant furniture.
Right.
And now you're going, okay, wait a minute, maybe I don't really love that couch. I didn't
Sure.
notice it because I was looking at all the other little tchotchkes.
Right. That's a good idea. And then you can either lose them altogether or reintroduce them in maybe more of a sparse, way. And I think it's always better to err on the side of losing a couple of more items than adding more things.
Right.
Especially in the tchotchke
Right.
land,
But I think in terms of when you're rearranging the furniture and the rooms, just keep it to just the furniture and the furnishings itself only. Keep all those little decorative collectibles out until the very last.
Right.
And don't be afraid too, like if you are considering your sofa, a table, a chair, to move one of those pieces of furniture to an entirely different room.
That's a great idea.
Like maybe you might have too much furniture in one room, or maybe that sofa or that chair or side table looks completely better in your bedroom or in off the kitchen area in the great room, something like that.
Exactly. I think that's a huge thing, is that we feel like we have to overstuff every room with more and more and more furniture just because even if you've got a large family, you don't necessarily need 3 couches and 15 chairs. Rooms look way better when there's less stuff in them. So I think again, err on the side of less is more.
And changing the look and feel by not only, like you say, changing the angle that it's on, but the amount of stuff that's there and the items that are there. And don't be afraid. Let's say you have some cool things that are outdoor related. Maybe
Sure.
it's an outdoor piece of furniture.
Yeah.
You can bring that inside, or an
Yeah.
indoor piece of furniture outside. And so in that process, you're kind of editing, and seeing what might work and what might not.
Yeah, and in the example of a living room, for example, it's really kind of an effective exercise just to do furniture groupings. For example, create little vignette areas. You don't, again, to the point of not having everything up against a wall, but maybe bringing out a couple of chairs and a coffee table into the center of the room and dividing it up into maybe one space or 2 separate spaces if the room's large enough.
Love it.
So there's just so many different ways to go here.
Well, we're going to talk about more of it because we have lots of ideas on how you can, for literally $0, not spending a dime, change where you live, how it looks and feels, because it's all about rethinking and rearranging what you have. It's kind of like in your closet. You know
That's
what I
it.
mean? All of a sudden you go, what? And I forgot that I had that great jacket.
That's right.
Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole, you're listening to Home Wizards, where we love to improve your home and improve your life. Now, as you're assessing your garden, looking at the quality of not only the flowers and the trees and, the foliage, the leaves themselves are kind of like your skin. It speaks volumes on the health of the plant. Take a look and make sure then when you go to the big box stores or the garden centers that you load up on Bayer Advance. These are really our go-to products for all things in the garden, whether it's for your edibles, your trees and shrubs, or your flowers.
Natria, amazing stuff, because you can put it on fruits and vegetables, and you can harvest up to the day that you use the product. Doesn't harm your
It's a
your body
natural
whatsoever. It's
material.
yeah.
It's basically an oil, is what
Yeah.
they use to keep those dreaded horned worms away from your tomatoes.
Don't want them.
Been lucky you haven't had them,
I've
right?
been very lucky.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, check it out. It's called Bayer Advance. They're in the blue bottle. They're the same folks, of course, who bring us the aspirin. They're on the cutting edge of all things to help your garden be successful and brilliant and great. Bayer Advanced.
I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade.
Welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards. I'm Cindy Dole.
I'm Eric Stromer.
And we love to improve your home and improve your life, especially if it doesn't cost you a thing.
Yeah, this is free improvement, which
Yeah.
there isn't a better way to do it.
It's amazing because how many times, well, a lot of times when we do these video shoots, we do a quick thing where we try to see what are you going to wear for the video. And we have this great clothing stylist who helps with a lot of different TV shows.
Yeah.
And she's a genius at going through the things you already have in your closet and coming up with different combinations.
Right. And you realize that I had it all along, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, my
You were right
gosh.
here all along.
Oh,
right?
my, how brilliant and philosophical.
It really is.
See?
And so, and I kind of find the same thing occurs when you go through rooms and rearrange furniture, change art around, even things like the minutia of moving, like you were talking about tchotchkes.
Yeah.
It just gets you to clean areas you wouldn't normally get to with a rag and some Windex or Pledge or whatever. You just find that you're sort of reacquainting yourself with the different planes of the walls and the angles of the room, and you'll get the dust bunnies that you might not have gotten if you hadn't changed the picture from this wall to that. All that stuff shows up. It's nothing but good for you to do, and again, it's free to the user.
And we had a lot of oak trees in our front yard, and recently we needed to trim them or lace them to take care of the tree. And now it's completely changed the look of our living room because now there's more light at certain times of the day because it's coming through. And so that kind of gave us, well, now how do we want to make it look to feel a certain way with the new light?
Yeah, it influenced the design of the house, essentially.
Exactly.
Changing stuff around.
So as you're thinking about, let's say it is your living room. I mean, if you are using a sofa and a coffee table and a lamp and a couple pieces of art, I mean, think of it this way. Not only can you rearrange your stuff so certain items might work in other rooms better, but you could take those same few pieces and maybe now make it either like all family, formal, feng shui, give it a different accent or vibe.
Sure. Yeah, and I like that idea of having, a chair that sits generally in the foyer or the den that can be moved easily into the TV area when a couple of extra people show up, right? So you don't necessarily have to prepare for 50 million people showing up in the house, but you can pull chairs from other rooms and, again, remove some of the clutter and keep it more sparse. And, you'll notice this in fine hotels or the lobbies of cool restaurants or hotels. The design is always really sparse.
Open
and airy, and it just and again, it really plays into it when you notice fine rooms is lighting makes a huge difference. So you may have some lights that aren't as vivacious in terms of how they throw and cast light onto the walls. You may want to think about getting new lamps. You may want to think about changing the shades because they're too opaque and not letting enough light through. Things like that can influence, to your point about cutting the trees down outside and trimming them. New light sources that come into the room are going to also change the way you feel about that room.
Very good, very good. So as we're clearing the clutter, we're taking a new look at what we have, kind of reassessing, rearranging, taking inventory, taking stock of our stuff. Now you're also going to consider, as you are clearing the clutter, kind of a new appreciation for your house because you're going to have, your space is going to sparkle again. You know what I mean? It's almost like now everything looks new again.
That's right.
And as you start to reassemble where you put stuff, you can start with, let's say, little vignettes. Like you were saying, like in your living room, create like a seating area, conversation area. Or this is, make destinations that are based on what the activity will be.
That's right.
Like maybe you want to nap in this corner.
That's
or maybe
it.
This is where you want to watch TV or read a book.
Right.
And that'll help to inspire where you put things back.
That's exactly right. And also, it'll, not to dwell on the lighting, but I do think it's so important. There's a formula for the lighting, which is 100 watts for each 50 square feet of space. So you don't want to just depend on one or two fixtures per room. Make sure that you have three kinds of lighting. You want your overall lighting, you want your task lighting, and then you want your ambient lighting. So there's three different modes of this
Layers.
stuff. Layers, exactly. And it'll really, again, change for free.
It gives it depth.
It gives it depth. You can borrow lamps from one room that maybe they're too many and bring them in and create those layers that we're talking about. Yeah.
It's a far richer look as opposed to like just being blasted, with like a floodlight.
Well, yeah, or a fluorescent light that's mandatory. This is what I think is so funny about, there's a code where you have to have a fluorescent light in a kitchen.
Right.
You have to. It's just code. But it's such a terrible quality of light. The good news is
under
that,
the cabinets.
Exactly. The good news is they're starting to make fluorescents that have a little warmer feel to them. But that's a great example. It looks like you're in a laboratory or something. You definitely want to think about the 3 layers. Anyway, go ahead.
And as you're rearranging and kind of reassessing what you have and where you're going to put things back, now you can continue to reassemble your rooms one by one. And as you're doing that, you're adding little dapples of fresh flowers and fruit.
Ooh, that's
It's amazing how, if you don't by now have a couple of hurricane vases or clear glass vessels of different sizes, little things like that in a corner here, or on a table there, and then you just stack, 6 lemons in there, or some fresh...
I might even opt for 3 peaches and a apple.
You could do that?
You could do whatever you want.
That it looks really...
Especially now that it's peach season. I just can't believe how good they are.
The only thing about some of these peaches, though, you got to be careful.
They go fast.
Well, they get gnats.
They get gnats and they go fast. You're right.
Yeah, so
I usually do them in a paper bag, but then they don't look very pretty.
Yeah.
No.
Not
Just
exactly.
a bunch of bags in a hurricane vase. Nothing worse.
Not a good decor idea, but you would be gnat free. But yeah, you be careful about that. The lemons might be safer than it's because it comes from the store. They've been shipped here, and now you're bringing the gnats from the store to your home.
They might even be from some faraway land. Gnats be gone.
Yeah. Now, as you're again reassessing, you've taken a look at all the furniture and the things you have, your accessories, and you're staging now areas. It's almost like what they do for real estate, staging the home to sell, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's almost like you're getting ready to put on a movie. Each room, look at it like this is now a set or a backdrop. And let's look at that couch, for instance. Maybe you have some pillows that were in the bedroom that really were like you didn't need those pillows in the bedroom. These are decorative pillows.
Sure.
Not the pillows that you sleep on, but they're decorative fluff pillows. Maybe those green and blue pillows would look great on the living room sofa.
It's interesting you say that because I've actually rented our home for movie and TV shoots and commercials and stuff. And what I notice is when the stylists, the art directors come in to change the house to look like the look of the commercial that they want to have, they take everything out. It's all gone. It's all gone. Like every single thing that I've put in my living room, they take out and they literally put back maybe 10% of the stuff. And it does look better. It takes the personal aspect of it out, but it totally looks better. And I think it's a really great exercise for you as a person trying to change the look and feel of their rooms. Try that. Just take it out as if you wanted to make it look like a showpiece to stage and sell. It's a really good exercise.
Take all the personality out.
Take it out and then
carefully
slowly put it back in.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because then, how they say to only, whether it's relationships or your home, to only be surrounded by that you love, right?
That's right.
Don't have all this junk in here if you're going, wow, I really didn't love that.
No.
I really don't love that little statue that Buddha that's staring at me.
It was a present from a guy I no longer care to know, and I don't want it in my life anymore. It's gone, dead to me.
And I really don't need the tassels. I
don't want the stinking tassels.
They're not making me feel great.
They collect dust for crying out loud.
So it's almost like after you take all these things out and then only put back a few things, and then the memorable photos and the certain, mementos, that's going to feel special.
That's right. I agree.
And I love the idea, too, of loving your literature.
Yes.
So, and I know you're a big reader, and this is something that can be so great. I mean, whether it's books that you have always considered your favorite, or it's books you hope to read one day, show off your literary collection by creating a decorative display with your books. And that could be anything from piling them as high as you can from the floor up and make it now, an instant kind of a perch.
Yeah.
To whatever.
Or if you don't love your books, but you want the look of books in shelving.
Oh, yes.
You can make it all monochromatic with some sort of paper cover over some books that you don't care about.
I
right?
love that look.
But then it streamlines the perimeter of the room with the shelving that doesn't feel so cluttered and heavy. And if you don't love what you have on your shelves, either A, get rid of it, or B, do that. Cover it with covers that are colorful, and they can be theme oriented. I actually saw this amazing segment on that show Sunday morning. There's a guy who lives in Boulder, Colorado, who actually is hired to curate libraries of public spaces and also personal homes, and he does it with these printed covers that create designs.
Love it.
Have you ever seen this
I
guy?
have seen
It's
that.
amazing, actually.
Oh, and I also love the idea of using that Italian marble paper that you can buy in specialty stores. And
Yeah.
we've seen this in some of the design homes. You know, in the old books where they might have kind of a gold finish
Sure,
on some of the
yeah,
pages,
yeah.
and the inside has that marble.
Yeah.
You can buy that paper and make it like a book cover, and now when they're all standing on end, looks gorgeous.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, in a shelf.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll put all this on the website as always. The idea to rearrange your space so that you only are surrounded by things that you love. Cheap, done, happy.
Love it.
Eric
That's
Stromer.
the cheapest remodel I've ever seen.
Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole. You're listening to Home Wizards. Keep it here because why? We love to make you feel good about the place you call home. And check us out at yourhomewizards.com.
Here's to the beauty of the stars.